Hi, I'm Tom.
I'm Matty.
And I'm Lewis.
This is the Wigan Way, Wigan's favourite rugby league podcast.
He'll put you in his trap 'cause he's a union man. He's got it all figured out. He won't care what you think 'cause he's a northern man. He's allowed to speak his mind. His
The Wigan Way podcast is brought to you by Cherry and White Pins, a local Wigan Warriors themed pin badge company with a variety of Wigan ranges. You can get free shipping on all orders when you use the code The Wigan Way, that's The Wigan Way, all in capitals, at checkout. Thanks to them for supporting the show.
Thank you for joining us this week on the Wigan Way. It's a big event, this one, really, for us. It's 2 years since we started the podcast. So, joining me again, Matty, Lewis, how's your week's been?
I think it's 85, 86 episodes or something like that in 2 years, so good to get this far. We didn't think it'd come this far, like we didn't think people would still be listening, but yeah, it's a good achievement, isn't it?
Yeah.
Remember when you guys told me you were doing this, Huddersfield away? It was the first
the
fixture you did,
yeah.
wasn't it? Ian Watson's Huddersfield side. And then you asked me, I think it was you away on holiday or something, Matty, and I think you asked me to come on, Dukesy, and fill in, and then here we are now, the three of us are doing it together.
I was on honeymoon 2 weeks into starting a new podcast, which is just...
that was it, honeymoon.
Great timing, mate.
Well, it was just inconsiderate, isn't it?
Could have delayed that wedding. Priorities, but it's been a great 2 years.
Yeah.
You actually look back at it and what it is. There's been ups and downs in that 2 years, and a lot that's gone on. 2023, winning the league leaders and then the grand final, the laws of losing the Challenge Cup semi at Headingley, and we're going to talk about Headingley again today. But going into 2024, lots of great moments, some down moments as well. The big losses at home to Warrington where things felt like they were falling apart. It's been a rollercoaster, really, these 2 years.
Well, that's what it is to be a sports fan, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been great. Right, let's get into this one. Now, we look back, it's the third time that we're doing episodes after back-to-back losses.
Yes.
So there's one in 2023, one in 2024, and we've had now ours in 2025.
In fact, I think it might have happened more than once in 2023 because off the top of my head, we won at Hull KR in Golden Point, and we'd lost 2 games either side of that. I think there was a Saints game maybe in the. There was when we went to Wakey and lost in Golden Point. I think that Hull KR Golden Point win where we had a comeback stopped a 5-game in a row losing streak.
Yeah, it might have done, yeah.
So I think it happened twice in 23. Once last year. They've all included Leeds, off the top of my head. They've all included Hull.
Yeah.
Last year didn't include Leeds, I don't think. They've all included Hull.
The reason I wanted to mention that is obviously we've gone back-to-back losses and there's been a bit of a panic and whatever. And don't get me wrong, I was upset on Saturday. Coming back from Leeds, it was...
Till singing started.
But it is a bit of a downer when you lose back-to-back games. And
It's horrible.
But actually, we've done it in the past 2 seasons and come back and been really, really successful. And there isn't a part of me that doubts the playing staff, the coaching staff, everyone at the club is going to get it right when it matters and be in conversation for big honours at the end of the season.
Our dip. If this is our dip, I mean, I'm sure we'll have one more dip after this because there's no real need to peak apart from the end of the season now. For us, with only one competition, we're still really left in, apart from league leaders.
That was round 5, wasn't it? So I don't think they need to start panicking now. It's round 5, there's still plenty of time.
3 wins. I mean, we lost one in the cup, so that obviously skews everyone's thinking, but we've got 3 wins out of 5.
5th in the league.
Crucially, we've been to Headingley. That's always a place you can mark us down as a question mark at best.
And got 2 points at Hull, which Hull FC in recent history we've lost.
That's a question mark at best, Hull FC away, yeah. So obviously we've got some tough games coming up, which will be a bit of a yardstick. We've got Salford coming up this week and then a week off, and then we've got 2 really tricky games.
But with that 2 tricky games, they've got to deal with the Challenge Cup. We get a week off. Saints and Hull KR won't be confident about playing us, even with recent results.
I think KR might be. It's their best chance to play us, isn't it?
it's the best time to play us, but you're not going to be going, oh, yes, we get to play Wigan this week.
No, you won't, no.
And it's going to be a big challenge, and they've got to get results. If we get 3 good results out of this next 4 weeks, the last 2 weeks are gone and forgotten. You're probably sitting first or second in the league in a very, very strong position.
It's interesting you brought up that Headingley trip in 2023. This was not, believe it or not, as wet. The one in the cup was more, it was raining more for longer. I feel like this one was, I mean, it's
the whole KR semi. I remember taking my coat off and saying, there's no point me having it on now, it's just, I'm saturated.
This one wasn't quite as bad as that, but I mean, still really awful. It's an awful ground to be at when it's bad weather.
To be honest, during the game, it wasn't too bad, really. A lot of the rain was pre-match and in the waiting round and walking to the ground, the bad weather.
To say it's supposed to be the best rugby league ground in the country.
Lewis, what's your opinion? First time you've been to Headingley?
I was going to say, I kind of have to comment on this with it being the first one. I can imagine it being fantastic if you were a Leeds fan.
Oh, yeah.
To go into the, you know what I mean, and you've got like the stuff,
amazing,
and you look at the stand, they got the little statue outside as you're going in and stuff like that. Look really good, but for an away fan, you walk down the side of the cricket ground essentially, around the back of, to go then into like the standing seating. You can't see the screen, you can't see the scoreboard. You've got no roof or shelter over you, so like you say, if it pees down, you get soaking wet through. It reminded me of Cass, just on a bigger scale.
You know the biggest advantage of not having that roof? I was thinking about it over at the game. For the home fans, it proper traps the noise in, and you hear them chanting through the game. Anything from that away end, it just sort of
evaporates.
Because
from where we were, it was quite loud, but on the television you couldn't hear it, and the Leeds fans said they couldn't hear it.
And there's not many people that can keep up that level of noise for 80 minutes for a normal league game and make it effective.
Yeah, I'm glad I've done it. I've ticked it off the box. I've been to Headingley. I've ticked it off the box, you know what I mean? But I wasn't overly impressed.
Well, when I go watch England, I'm not standing up in that section.
No.
In October, November. No thanks.
Not a chance. So the game. Round 5. Not the result we wanted, first of all, obviously. Losing 12 points to 10.
No.
We were losing 6 points to 4.
It's one of them games, I know exactly what Matty Pete would have called it, which I'm not going to say right now, but the second bit of that word is fight. Bad conditions. Both sides missing a few.
Yeah.
Bit of attrition.
Yeah, I think so. I think I said this to you at full time. We'll go into a bit more in-depth analysis, but I think we look tired. I don't think hangover from Vegas is the right word, but I think we're looking fatigued and tired from Vegas.
We did put a lot into that.
We did, and you just looked at the stats then before we started recording, Dukesy, and you said like metres.
There's only 2 over 100 metres, and one's Liam Marshall, who has an incredible ability of metres.
Well, he must be 100 metres in most games.
And the other is Bevan French, who's playing full-back. So you would expect him to return long kicks.
But I think you could tell that at the game. We just didn't seem to be winning the ruck, poking our nose through, actually going into contact with some intensity. We seemed to be kind of jogging it in, taking the tackle. They'd get 3 men in, slow us down. And then when the reverse happened, they was on the ball. Again, we struggled to win the ruck, put them on the back, and they started playing quick against us.
I was going to say something very similar. Whenever we did get a quick play of the ball, we didn't really react quite well to that.
No, it seemed tired to me. I don't think hangover is the right word to use, but I still think we're fatigued. I think that week off, after get through Salford at home, hopefully get the 2 points, and I think that week off, you know, we talked about it last week, how many games we've had without having a scheduled time week off, because we've never, we've not been knocked out of the cup and everything last season. It's been very intense, and I think it's starting to catch up to us now doing the trip to Vegas. It's took a lot out of us, I think.
I don't know what the plan is for the players, but if after Sunday it's 2 pure weeks, I would be more than happy to send some of them on holiday. Go and have 2-3 days off.
Oh, they'll go on holiday, yeah.
Go and have a break. Don't come back till next Friday. Run through a few things. Obviously, you mentioned injuries there. Field didn't pass his fitness thing in the week.
I don't know if it's that. I just don't think it was worth risking him. I don't think it was worth risking him at all for 2 competition points when you could put him out for 7, 8, 9.
Again, when it's so early in the season, still everything to play for.
Yeah, exactly.
Kieran, obviously, the 10 weaker. Miski. That's what I wanted to mention to you both. Obviously, Miski was named in the squad at 17. It's not often you see a team change the squad for almost like a fitness test.
No, I think it happens. I mean, Lola here pulled out in the warm-up against us.
Yeah, but he pulled out.
Well, I think
So
Miski pulled out in the warm-up.
What I mean by that, though, is if Lola here's picked up an injury, he's picked up an injury. If Miski's going in, and you know he's 50-50, we commented because we were in early that Douglas was doing a heavy warm-up. And then we started looking at Miski, and Miski wasn't, when they went through the tackle bags, he wasn't going through it or whatever, and you went, I had a feeling at that point he wasn't going to play. And then you got a text off your dad, didn't you, Matt, saying that he wasn't playing, and we went,
That makes sense then.
it makes sense what we're seeing.
That warm-up just made sense then.
If you're Jacob Douglas going playing at Headingley, do you think it affects you not knowing that you're playing until you see him pull out?
Never mind Jacob Douglas. I think that would be the case for anybody. I mean, I remember back to the Challenge Cup final, Liam Marshall had to do something very similar when he was a young player. It's difficult for anybody, particularly young winger like that, to come in cold from the reserves on the last 15 minutes before a game. That's going to be tricky for a pro, never mind a young player.
Especially with Farrimond and Eckersley. If that's French, Kieran, and you're waiting on Miski or Douglas, it's a different question, really. But a completely new right side. So it would be interesting to know how much they trained for it and were prepared for it. And it's probably not a question we can get an answer to.
No, but I'm sure they'll have gone through their due diligence. They won't have left a stone unturned, Wigan.
No. Now,
I do think, though, obviously having that on that right hand side with Eckersley and Farrimond and Douglas, it just showed us what a young side we all of a sudden were.
Yeah.
There's not that many injuries. I'm happy that those are our backup players because I think they'll be better off for having been given this chance. And look, they played all right. I know Douglas had the one error that we talked about, but besides that, he didn't put a foot wrong, really.
I thought Farrimond was brilliant defensive.
Farrimond had a great defensive game.
Putting his weight
He didn't
about.
get...
I thought Eckersley was good.
He didn't pop up much in attack, but his defence was fantastic. Eckersley, a great defender. He's a centre, I think, is his best position.
Yeah, I do.
I think he's his best position centre, so one in the from where he's
I'd
been playing.
I'd probably go fullback,
Yeah,
Even before that, I think centre, fullback, and then probably winger. But I've
probably similar to where St Helens see Harry Robertson. I know Robertson's a bit further on because he's played a few more games than Zach, but probably a similar position where you think, right, centre or fullback is his best position. He can play on the wing if needed.
Yeah.
But those are his best positions, centre and fullback.
Now, there was one thing brought up from this game, it's probably worth jumping towards the end of the game, was our use of the subs. It was mentioned last week. Cruz Lehman played 80 minutes and Tom Forber didn't get his way onto the field. Liam Byrne did one spell at the beginning. Mago did a short spell of about 13 minutes.
Yes.
I think Dupree played longer minutes.
Dupree played longer than usual, definitely. I think just towards the end, you need your best players on the pitch, it feels like, and Thompson and Ellis needed to be on the pitch.
Yeah. Because Ellis got a little bit of a break when Mago came on.
Walters played a lot, I think.
Walters was very good. I would have said he was up there as our man of the match. I thought his meters were really good and he never stopped playing that middle. So it would have been difficult to get Byrne on. Forber being really young. We've seen it before, he's not been used. He wasn't used at Salford last year when Brad O'Neill played 80 minutes in the rain. And it was a close game and they didn't want to bring him on.
And I remember Junior was left on the bench at Good Friday, was it last year? Junior was never brought on off the bench.
I remember Hull FC 2 years ago. He only played 4 minutes or something like that at the end of the game.
Whenever that's happened before, Pete said he got it wrong, but I don't necessarily think he did this time.
I don't think you can bring Lehman off for Tom Forber, and that's where we're probably missing Brad O'Neill.
Well,
If it's O'Neill and Lehman, they sit perfectly together. Forber is still a little bit young, and we're going to see better from him in the next 2-3 years. But again, it's just that injuries, and they just stack up a little bit.
Let's say Jay Field doesn't play this weekend against Salford. Miskey doesn't play. What do you do? I think it's harsh on Jack Farriman to take him out. You need Eckersley somewhere.
Eckersley has to play centre for me. I think that's the first question.
Right,
if he's going to play the 10 weeks of Kieran missing...
In that case, you're going to have to stick with French at fullback, which is what it is, isn't it?
Do they bring a young fullback in?
No, because
Can't remember the name of the young fullback.
you'd trust Farriman, wouldn't you?
I think so. I don't think there's nothing. I think people. We always say, don't we? We record this podcast a couple of days after the result because obviously emotions run high, and
Yeah.
I think people were panicking. It were back-to-back losses, but when you look at it, we was away at Headingley in awful conditions. All right, I know that's the same for the both teams. We conceded off a very kind of like an error from a young lad who's dropped an eyeball,
Yeah, that can happen.
and we conceded off a ball off Ryan Hall's inability to catch a ball.
Yeah.
He hits him in the head and he gets an assist off his head in one of the freakiest, luckiest tries you're ever going to see.
Isn't it? It's a freak
And I'm not
try.
taking anything away from Leeds. What I'm trying to say is it isn't actually. Yeah, our attack was a bit clunky. We didn't really look like we were coherent and smooth. But when you've got a completely new right-hand side and when you've got a young lad who's not played in a while playing in your halves as a six, then that's going to happen. I
They've
don't...
not ripped us to shreds, have they?
No, and defensively, do you know what I mean? Look at the tries we conceded.
The tries we conceded are tries anyone would concede.
I think we looked tired, but I still think, despite the fatigue, we were putting in an effort. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I think that shows again in the tries we've conceded. They weren't soft. They didn't rip us up through the middle.
No, it was 2 kicks. One of them a freak, and one of them a knock on, a mistake.
Yeah, yes.
And our tries, yes, we had one from a kick and one from a clever move. But Leeds could probably be thinking along the same lines. They could think, right, well, Bevan did a bit of a dance past us and they scored off a kick. What a good kick from Harry Smith. They'll be pretty happy with their defence. Other teams are allowed to play well, especially Leeds at Headingley.
Yeah.
They're allowed to defend well, which I think they did. I think we were given a lot of... It's hard to say this. We lost the ruck both ways, as you said before, Lewis. We were giving away quite a few 6-agains and penalties for ruck infringements.
Yeah, a bit of ill discipline.
Yeah. And Leeds didn't do that.
No. And I do think, do you know what I mean? So I would go personally, to answer your question, I'd say I'd go with the same team again because I don't think anyone's done anything where I think they don't deserve to play on Sunday. And I think that team has got send it back out there with something to prove.
The only option you could do is you could maybe bring Hill onto the bench. If you were thinking that you got the bench wrong, for example, you could maybe bring Hill back into the bench.
I was going to say, I think they freshen it up slightly. If one of them props is carrying a little bit of a niggle or a knock or whatever it is, I think he might use Hill. The only other option, and we obviously mentioned Spine then, they could play a second rower there.
I don't.
I don't think at centre
No,
and play Eckersley fullback. That's the only other option, and I don't think I would go for that.
I wouldn't do that.
So then,
In game, yeah, maybe, but
then it's effective, isn't it? That's what we're going to have to
in
stay.
game, not if you're starting. I wouldn't start with that.
No, I fully agree. But the other options, rather than just saying that, we've got all these options and what he has to do something different, the other options aren't as effective. If that was the best team last week, it's still the best team this week.
Yeah, I think that's the way to go forward. Just pick the same team.
Right.
If
go on.
Jay Field isn't available, if Field's available, that's a very easy decision for me. Is Eckersley stays at centre and French goes back into 6, and everything like that. Just Constantino. It's unfortunate for Jack Farriman, but that's the way it is. If Field's available, Farriman's not playing.
Yeah, and when we talk about the freshness or whatever, we mentioned a couple of games, obviously, sitting near each other, Lewis, that Field's probably been the most lively.
He has been our best player.
He's looked the most energetic. He's been popping up.
Yeah, Bevan made a few things, but Field's been probably our best, at least back.
I think it told in this game, there was a couple of times some high kicks went up by Leeds, but you'd think would be a full-back's ball. And he were nowhere to be seen. Marsh was having to go 10-15 metres sideways.
Douglas caught one diving.
He caught one on full stretch and took a catch at slip.
Yes.
Well, you mentioned this, Matt, in our group chat, that he's not the same player he was 2 years ago, Bevan. he's a 6 now. He's had to put size on to be able to defend at 6.
Yes.
And you possibly lose a little bit of that.
Lewis Martin going past him last week told me that, he's a different sort of defender now. The day where he chased Makinson across the field and threw him in touch, I'm happy with this because Jay feels excellent at that. French is a different kind of defender now. He's in the line putting shots on people.
If he had to do it for an extended period of time, I think he'd get there.
Maybe.
Again. But he's very...
I like him as a 6.
Yeah.
I know it looks right, him being at fullback, but I like him at 6.
It's best for our team balance. Him at 6 and Field at 1. So, shall we go into this game? Obviously...
Talk about it for ages.
Leeds open the scoring.
We spoke about the tries, haven't we, really?
Yeah.
It was a bit of a mistake from a high kick. The first high kick, really, that was put into him... That he's not the only winger to come up with that mistake.
Miski made it on debut in Toulouse, didn't he? And Miski and Kieran meshed one up in the World Cup Challenge.
Yeah.
So he'll make more mistakes. He'll learn from this one. Leeds do well.
I thought Bentley did well there, actually.
Yeah, just to find his winger, step back inside.
Unlucky for Douglas, that.
It was, yeah. It was. And he was good under the high ball after that.
That was the good thing to see, was he did pick his head up. He didn't let it get to him in the next one, which was a lot harder. He caught. So fair play to him. Keep your head up and keep going.
Now it's 6-0 with about a minute to go. And let's say 2 minutes before we can get the ball back, and a bit of me is just hoping to get in at half time 6-0, not concede any more points.
Yeah, well, we'd have been lucky to get in at 6-0 after the first half we put in.
It could have been 12-18-0 if Leeds weren't at the best attacking wise as well.
We defended well. We defended our mistakes really well. And we defended them, letting them get meters. We defended our line well.
But we're going in at 6-0, and with 45 seconds left, Leeming to Walters to Smith, who puts a brilliant kick in. He spots Ryan Hall shooting up now, as good as Ryan Hall is.
That's probably his one weakness, isn't it?
Yeah.
He does like firing in a bit.
Yeah. He's a little bit like Miski and with that. And they've not got great acceleration to get back. Ryan Hall's how old now? 36, 37? He's not the quickest. He's not got that yard of pace that he used to have. And the ball sits up really nicely for Marshall, who scores in the corner. A yard in from touch.
Yep. I mean, I did hear somebody on the way out say that missed goal cost us the game. A left-footed kicker from the left wing, missing a goal.
It really does get me. They're not the kicks that win you games. And I think I said to you two that if that kick costs us, we don't deserve to win it. Because you shouldn't be banking on 6 points.
You can't be needing a 6-point try when your wingers dove in the corner.
Yeah. We're going at 6-4. And you know what? A little bit is thinking, got away with this here.
Yeah.
Big time. And getting at half time, sort a few things out. And
is it fair to say, especially in the last 2 weeks, we just can't seem to put an 80-minute performance together? Poor in the second half against Hull FC, we lose it 22-0.
Yeah.
Should have, again, should have, would have, could have, but we've gone in 6-4. But we've scored on the 39th minute and 30 seconds after what's been a really poor half, where Leeds probably should have been 14-16-0 up in that first. Yeah. You know, are we struggling to put? Could even go as far as to say maybe even that last closing stages of Vegas when we let Wire score.
Yeah, Huddersfield, we didn't put an 80-minute performance together.
We were losing at half time against Huddersfield.
We were. Do you know what I mean?
To start with.
We seem to be either starting or ending games poorly. We can't seem to put an 80-minute performance in together yet.
It's weird, like the best full performance. I suppose Hull away, but the first game where we lost 1-0. We played really well for 80 minutes and just didn't break them down, and we were matched that day.
Going in 6-4. Happy with that. Would have took it after the performance. And we come out and we actually make a little bit of yardage, really, and start to control the game, I would say. And it takes the 50-minute mark. Dupree on the line. Leeming to Smith. To French on that short side.
Game over when he gets that ball, and it's game over. He can do whatever he wants.
As soon as you see that big left foot from him,
game over. Try time.
Exactly. Harry Smith converts and it's 10 points to 6. Now, there was something I wanted to mention around this time. It's the 50-minute mark, and we had the conversation. We were still making good yardage. And we had the conversation of get Mago on.
Break the game open a bit.
Break the game open. Let's get another here. And about 30 seconds after we said it, we see Mago stood on the sideline.
Yeah, we actually predicted a few subs this game because we said to get Ellis back on, and he
Brought Ellis back on
as well.
But Mago gets ready around the 52nd minute mark, and he doesn't get on for the next 6 or 7. We drop a ball. We then bring it out from yardage.
Yeah, there was something where there was like 2 knock-ons or something, and they ended up getting 6 more tackles. I thought a lucky bounce. I thought the bounce of the ball went Leeds' way all day.
Yeah.
There were a lot of low balls where they were picking them up off the boot laces, and there was a couple of times where picked everything up cleanly where it looked like it were going in touch, and they just threw it back in. And obviously the final try was the greatest piece of luck I've ever seen. It's almost worth applauding because it's so genius. But he's accidentally got the world's best tries this, but it just felt like we didn't really get the look.
No.
The thing is, and I might have said this on the podcast before, the legendary American football coach, Bud Grant, he said, the ball is oval, which means it bounces in a funny way. And that leads to the chaos and the unpredictability of the sport. And he was talking about American football, but it's true for rugby balls as well. And he said, whatever happens, you've got to live with the bounce. If it bounces to you, fantastic, you look like a genius. If it bounces away and the other team score, you've got to live with the bounce. If you're going to play this game, you're not going to have games where everything comes off for you.
Yeah.
Like Vegas, the offloads were coming off. The one where it goes through Walter's hands and French scores, that just comes off. The king, no try. You're going to have games where it doesn't come off and it comes off for your opponents, and actually you're really well matched and even, and it's even Stevens, but they get that bit of luck, they get that goal that goes in, or they get that bounce of the ball. You've got to live with it, and maybe in another game we get the bounce of the ball.
Well, the thing is, when you're playing really, really well, we might have still won that game without the bounce of the ball. If you got your full 17 out and everything's perfect, and you just get that bad bounce or whatever, you might be able to just scrape a win. These were 2 even teams, and that bounce of the ball matters. Yeah. The bounce of the ball ends up leading to the Sinfield try and off Rhinos' head. And big stroke of luck.
Huge. And I can't remember if this is before or after they had a try ruled out for a forward pass. I think
it was before, I think.
So they had a try ruled out for a forward pass, which obviously we have no idea if it was forward or not because we were behind the sticks. He was pretty quick blowing it back, but I'm not sure. I don't know if it was forward. He then chalked one off for Nsemba, which didn't look forward. But again, we didn't have the best view. I'm also not sure he got it down. Looked like they held him up anyway. So you could say, well, he gave a couple of forward passes there. He gave one each. Forward passes on the no tries. This one, they seemed to take an age looking at it. We couldn't see the screen.
We didn't get it up on Sky Goal.
Yeah, and you just can't tell if he's headed it on purpose, which he definitely hasn't. Then it's no try. If he's tried to catch it and failed,
it's the greatest assist.
Then it's a try assist, for Ryan Hall. Crazy.
You just knew something like that when you're on your 500th game. He was catching it or scoring, or
if he catches it, he doesn't score because Marshall puts him in touch.
No, but I just had a feeling that something was going to happen. Would he bounce Marshall off and score, or I was like,
I didn't think he was going to score.
Now, you mentioned Harry Smith getting some criticism. He did get some criticism for this try with his kick pressure. He really pushed on the inside.
Well,
but no one else went
because he went by himself.
Yeah. And he has to go. You have to put kick pressure on.
It's disappointing, this, because not only did they get the look from the bounce of the ball off of Brian Hall's head, they also had a poor pass, and that made them get a chance.
Yeah.
So these things happen. Like I said, you got to live with the bounce, and it didn't bounce our way, and it bounced Leeds' way. You got to give them the win. You got to give them the benefit of the doubt. The 2 points. They were in position to to deal with that better than we were.
Yeah.
So that makes it 12 points to 10.
I'd love it if it came off Douglas's head and French scored.
Yeah.
That would be brilliant.
Yeah, you can't blame Leeds fans.
So you've got to, you've got to be fine with it when it goes against.
There's the argument you make your own luck, and that first half they were much the better team.
No, I think again we got what we deserved out of this game, which was 0 points.
Yeah.
We certainly got what we deserved out of it.
Yeah. 66 minutes, 12-10. Mago comes off, Ellis comes back on. And we immediately shouted that Ellis needed to come back on. Purely, in my opinion, for his passing at first receiver. We just got a little bit sloppy, a little bit all over the place, bad couple of passes. But we didn't manage this 15 minutes well. And
It just drifted away from us, didn't it?
we had a couple of things. We had the Wardle pass in December that was forward. We had Jack Farrimond just sort of throws that ball in field on the fourth tackle. And if he takes the tackle, you get one more shot at him.
I think Lehman had one where he did a scoop from 9 on the fourth, and
Yeah.
he threw the ball and it got intercepted.
Yeah, I think there was a bad kick as well. I can't remember who that was from.
Do you think we was overplaying, chasing the scoreboard a bit?
Eventually, I do.
Rather than
Eventually, I
just
do.
sticking to trying to the care. But I suppose that happens, doesn't it? Like you said, Leeds away, a lot of kids on the field. You need your experienced heads there with experience to stand up and do what needs to be done for those clinch game moments. And when you're missing big personality on the field, you've not got a good, your normal spine
Your normal
in
organised.
your normal positions.
The funniest thing for me though is our best moments in that 15 minutes were off the back of structure. Tackled on a goal post and we nearly put December through.
Yeah.
We come off structure and Jack Farrimond nearly steps through. He then ends up throwing the ball inside and it gets intercepted. But when we stick to structure, a couple of times we had chances with Farrell on the right hand side where where Farrimond hit him on a short ball and got us some really good meters. And then when we go a little bit sideline to sideline,
The crowd moans and groans at that. That's the problem.
yeah,
Even today, I was thinking about. I had a look back at some of the old comments, and they were saying about Smith hitting the short ball too much. And when you lose, yeah, that's the comment. But when you win, he's hit the short ball so many times that the one at the back's worked the last time, and that's where French's try came from.
yeah.
So it's hard. It's easy to criticise set plays like that, but it's our identity.
I just want to emphasise what you said there. Sorry, the Bevan French try comes off hitting December 2 short balls in a row on sets on the line.
Yep.
And you just give him a yard.
Yep.
That's all he needs, and Field needs it. But it's made by that.
It's like with anything in this thing, you never really have, is it, the right or wrong thing to do, because the outcome dictates whether it was or it wasn't.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like a similar thing you could say about Ellis, who loves an offload in him. You know what I mean? When it comes off and it gets an offload to Field, who makes a break, or it was a fantastic offload. When he offloads and it causes an intercept, or the ball goes to ground and the guy picking it up knocks it on, then it's what's he offloading for? Should just take his tackle.
Think about the biggest thing about that is taking the 2.
Yeah.
We cheered when Jake Connor took the 2 because they had us on the ropes. They went from 4 to 6, ended up winning the game with that 2 points. Outcome dictates that was the right decision to go for 2 at that time. Now, I'm not saying that they wouldn't have scored, but the way we defended the rest of that game after that moment, it probably was the right decision to go for 2.
Yeah.
But at the time, it was the right call. It's what Wigan wanted.
Yeah,
because they were all over us and we needed that break.
But hindsight says it was the right decision.
It's a wonderful thing, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's easy to be a coach in hindsight. Very easy.
So that wraps the game up. 12 points to 10. Leeds walk away with 2 competition points.
Yeah, I think they deserved it.
Yeah.
And the scenes at full time, they obviously had a great win at home, and they weren't expecting it. So
You made a point last week, and it was absolutely right, and it applies to this game. It's very, very rare that you don't win a game if you don't deserve it.
It's very rare.
There might be one in 100, 1 in 1,000 games where you go, we've won that, we didn't deserve it.
Very rare indeed.
So the outcome the loss is what was deserved. And
Leeds deserved that for grinding it out.
yeah,
And they had the right people on the field to grind it out at the end.
and they managed that last 15 minutes better than we did, which is
Yeah.
not something that
Yeah.
we often do. They didn't give a penalty away. They didn't give us a chance to knock 2 points over.
They didn't give a penalty away all day, I think.
Give one away, 7th minute or 8th minute, something like that.
One penalty the whole game.
Yeah, well, we can talk about that another time. But game ends. Leeds take 2 competition points. We're still sat in 5th on 6 points.
Yep.
This is not like we're 4 from 5. And
There's a bit of a bunch, isn't there, on 6 points?
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
a bunch of teams on 6 points, and yeah, you can look at it and say we've lost 2 in the league already, and we only lost 5 in the league all last year, and you could say that's doom and gloom. But you could equally say we've lost back-to-back games before and been fine. So it's just a case of what happens next. And I said it last week, it's just a case of what happens next.
Yeah.
you win next week and then week off. 2 good results after that, and then everyone forgets this.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
How we are after that week off is crucial for me. It's what that week off does. If we recharge our batteries and we can use that as a bit of a reset to go again, going to be a very tricky Easter period for us.
Yes.
But that week off is probably going to come at the right time. And I'm looking forward to see how we do after that. If we can get through Sunday, and I think Sunday, you know what, if it's not even a star-studded performance, but we can scrape 2 points and just grind out a win in a something fight.
Yes,
As you
something
called it before, Matt.
Well, that's
Then-
I'm
Is
just
that the technical term?
I'm just making
Yeah.
Matt Pete's words PG,
Yeah.
suitable for all audiences.
podcast friendly. But if we
Yes.
can just grind out a win through one of them, it's not a star-studded 5-star champagne rugby performance, I'll be happy with that. Take the week off and then go from there and use that as a bit of a reset for me.
Definitely. Right, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll discuss the news. So, Matty, you've been looking around rugby league again this week. What's caught your eye, mate?
I have. So I'll start with the try of the week this week, and it's down under. They're not all down under this week, but this one was, and it's got an involvement from our old friend Kai Pearce-Paul. It's a Newcastle Knights try. James Schiller ends up scoring it, but you've got 6, 9, 7, 1 all involved. It's a gorgeous team try, double block play, lots of moving bodies. Pearce-Paul ends up with it and launches a basketball-style pass cut out, misses the centre and puts James Schiller in. What do you think about that try, boys?
That was a good one, wasn't it? Nice to see a bit of unorthodox pass, not a standard rugby play, across the checks or what they call 6 o'clock pass, just a kind of basketball chess pass almost, but
Don't matter.
gets the
does it?
job done.
Don't matter. You got to get the ball out there.
Get the ball to the winger.
There's
I
no
love the-
pitches on the scoreboard.
I love the shock of he's 6'7".
Yeah, the structure was lovely for that try. And my player of the week is Jaden Nikarima. Scored a double in their first win. They beat Huddersfield, which we'll talk about in a bit. And they needed him to step up. I think he scored a couple of tries last week as well. So he's doing well in albeit in a usually beaten side. The last couple of wins they've had have been down to Jaden Nikarima a lot. And then shot of the week, well, there's a few options that I've written down throughout the week, but that shot by Mo Fodawaker on Adam Elliott, absolute rip snorter, knocked him out of his boots, absolutely broke his ribs in 2 with that shot.
I've got to say, it's the ones where you just close your eyes and go, ooh, when you see it.
Because he shoots out for him, and he doesn't miss.
I love big hits.
You do love big hits, and that was a big hit from Mo Fodawaker, the big man.
I wish I had more big hits.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the game's gone downhill since the shoulder charger's gone.
That was a legal big hit, though, this one.
Right, thanks for your eye catches, Matty. Lewis, what's gone on in the news?
Got quite a few things written down, but I'll try and get through them quickly. Let's start off in the NRL. So, probably the biggest piece of news because just how it was broke. Dilly Cherry Evans was basically offered a new deal by Manly, which he rejected.
December, that wasn't it? That was a while ago.
Yeah, so he'd been there, but I think, it kind of broke it that he was rejecting it, so obviously then speculation started. He's a big star in the NRL, Australia, international,
Still got it.
Where's he going to go? Who's going to benefit from him? All stuff like this. And obviously, anybody who's not a big fan of the NRL listening to this, they have a lot more kind of media devotion. So on one of the like news shows called NRL 360, they're discussing this. And then Braith Anester.
He used to play for Roosters. And West half-back he was,
Yeah. So he's like the kind of anchor person, the kind of like main host. And he breaks...
Oh, he didn't hit the best drop goal ever. Sorry, Lewis.
Yeah.
Braith Anester did not hit the best drop goal ever.
He did. I'll show it you later.
Okay, fine.
Go and watch it. Just best drop goal ever.
He announces live on NL 360. They kind of get news in from like high ups at Manly that actually they're going to go back to the table and offer him a new deal. So they're saying don't write him off as not being a Manly player next season yet. We're going through. So it's almost like he's been offered a new deal live on air.
Well, it's one way to control the narrative, isn't it? If you're Manly, it's one way to say, well, actually, it puts the pressure back on him.
It's a funny one, this though, because they're going to have life without Daly Cherry Evans. And 2-3 years ago, he took a pay cut. He was $1 million player. He took a pay cut so that they could spend the money elsewhere and they could get Turbo on the money that he needed to be and Jake Travojevic. They got Luke Brooks in. They spent. He's done that for the team, and the report is now they're going to offer
money on Jason Saab.
Yeah, they're going to pay 1.3 million over 2. That's apparently the new deal offer. So that values him at 650.
DCE right now is worth well more than 650, and I know that would make him the highest paid Super League player, but we're talking NRL here. Big pockets.
Dylan Brown has just gone to the Knights
Well, Dylan
for
Brown
1.3 a year.
13 over 10, 1.3 a year.
If they knew Daly Cherry Evans was going to hit the open market, they would not be spending 13 million on him. They'd be taking DC for 2 years.
When we spoke about the Dylan Brown stuff, it was very much you've locked up your halfback or you locked up your 6 for 10 years. Yeah, I don't know.
A 7 as good
What
as
could
Daly
DCE command on the open market? If you've got a team that's contending and needs a stopgap filling in for 2 years and has got every piece but the 7 or 6, then Daly Cherry Evans, you could pick him up easily for $1 million. And
He's 36, 37, and he's still starting Origin
that's a
halfback.
lot of your cap, though, isn't it? $1 million is a lot of your cap. There's not going to be many teams that have got $1 million to just spend on that missing piece.
Clearly some do, because they found 13 million over 10 for Dylan Brown.
Yeah, but that's Newcastle. He's not the missing piece for Newcastle, is he? He's not going to turn them into Premiership winners by himself.
The Dolphins would love him.
Yeah, but again, he's not the missing piece there. You're looking at a team who's up there, but perhaps need Sharks or a Roosters.
Roosters definitely need him.
Someone who needs an organiser.
The Roosters definitely need him.
We'll see. We'll see where it goes. I think he'll stay at Manly.
I think he's been a legend there, hasn't he? It seems right for him to finish his career there, doesn't it?
Weird one. Obviously, he's already backflipped on a deal before, hasn't he? When he started to go to the Titans and then backflipped on that. But Manly are a top 4 side potentially this year. And a side that's getting better. At the end of the year, if they're competing there, why would you want to leave? You could end up with the Premiership.
I don't know. I mean, if you spoke to my mum, she'd never want to leave Manly.
No.
It's her favourite holiday destination.
Is it?
The Northern Beaches. Yeah. Why would you ever want to leave there?
Sticking in the NRL, next one we've got is, it's a bit of a weird one, so not necessarily don't know if you classify it as news, but just something unusual, a bit of an eye catcher probably this one. A penalty was given in the Gold Coast match this week for going against the spirit of the game.
Oh yeah, Josh Curran got in trouble for going against the spirit of the game. So he's coming back from a kick, the clear out a kick, or is it 20 metre?
It's a 20 metre restart.
So he's still getting back on side. You know, he's now, his team's now attacking and he's just coming back on side. He's a forward, so you know forwards do that. And he calls a bloke offside.
He's shouting at one of the Bulldog defenders, "You're offside. Matt, you're offside," I think he says. Or, "Mate, you're offside." Which then means he
pulls himself out of the line, doesn't he? He pulls himself out of the line, the guy who he calls offside.
Thinking it's the referee.
Thinking the referee's called him offside, yeah.
He ends up making an extra 10 metres. He makes a one-on-one tackle once he's got back onside.
James Graham was furious about this, like he is with most things. He was saying, it's your fault you were offside. It's your fault you fell for the ruse. It's your fault you didn't recognise that wasn't the ref's voice. You don't deserve a penalty, basically.
Or don't cheat.
No.
Yeah, I don't agree with that.
Don't try and referee the game
I
yourself.
don't agree with James on this one.
No, I like James Graham, but I don't agree with him there. I want to get cheating out of the game. That's not That's not a rugby league I want to see, where people are just blatantly trying to cheat to win. That's not what this game's built on, the values this game.
I like the ref was strong enough to not just let play on, he was strong enough to give a penalty the other way for breaking the spirit of the game.
Especially with offside being something that refs do call. Like,
Yeah, I can see why
he's not called knock on, has he?
Yeah.
Or forward pass. He's called something that the ref does shout, you're offside, get back. Just don't do it.
Yeah, no. And I like this because it would have been something that could have possibly crept into the game. It would have been a big discussion point. It's like, penalise them, they won't do it again because they don't want to continue the penalty. Stamp it out the game straight away before it even comes into it. He's tried it, you know what you're doing, penalty against it, stop being an idiot. Done, no one will do it next week now. It's not a big deal anymore, is it? Stamp it out before it even becomes a thing.
It's what they did on the hip drop, isn't it? They had a couple early on and then they just banned big and it stopped.
Yeah,
almost
but the hip
overnight.
drops felt at least a bit accidental.
Yeah, yeah.
This feels...
Yeah, this is blatant
is
cheating.
cheating, this.
This is just cheating the game, isn't it?
Yeah. Right, let's go to some signings news over in Super League. Cass have signed Raymond Silva. So former Warriors. But I think we signed him from London, didn't we?
Same time.
Might have been London Scholars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's done really well with Barrow. Barrow were doing really well. And he's done well with Barrow last maybe 18 months, maybe a bit less, since he left Wigan. And Cass have took a bit of a gamble on him. I mean, they need big bodies. He's a big lad.
Yeah.
He could get 3
He
minutes.
likes to wrestle as well.
I know. He gets...
Trains in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or
Brazilian
something, doesn't he?
Jiu-Jitsu,
Yeah,
yeah.
he's like quite accomplished at that. So yeah,
Could be. I mean, if you look at some of the rubbish they brought in last year on short-term deals, he's worth a go.
Yeah, definitely.
It's not going to take too much of your cap up, is it?
No, not no. And they need big bodies, like I said. They've just let Liam Watts go.
Well, speaking of big bodies, they've also signed Brad Singleton.
That's a good signing.
So they've gone and got Brad Singleton.
Is he better than Watts? I bet he's cheaper.
I bet it's cheaper than Watts, and I bet you get a similar output from him.
Yeah, probably.
I would say he's better than.
You reckon he's better?
I would say he's better than.
I think his injury record's a bit better.
I reckon they're probably about similar, but he's cheaper. And actually, by all accounts, he wanted Liam Watts out of the dressing room. Singleton seems to be, I don't know this for a fact, but he seems to be well liked wherever he's been.
He's been in a lot of clubs, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Leeds, Toronto, ourselves, Salford. And
Yeah, but he
Cass.
seems like Salford quite liked him. Wigan thought he was a good presence.
If you're Maguire and you try and set culture, there's not many better than Brad Singleton that's been in dressing rooms that won and...
Been in Leeds and Wigan, two successful clubs. That's what about culture of success. Well, let's stick with this story then. I will come back to another side one in a minute, but whilst it links on, you said Matty Maguire seems like he wants him out. It's been a bit of a weird one, this one. Because Maguire has called him out.
Liam Watts.
Yeah, he's called Liam Watts out, sorry, I should say. So the signing got made or something. I think, did Maguire get asked his opinion on it? And he turned around and said, well, if you like signing or wasting money on players who don't train. And basically made a bit of a hint that he's not attending training.
Yeah. He made a bit of a dig that Hull FC had got it wrong by signing him, or didn't know what they were getting into by signing
Said
him.
they signed a player who doesn't want to train.
Yeah.
And that's not good for culture.
I don't think he was blaming Hull FC as such. He was just saying, here's what...
It's more a dig at Watts, really.
Yeah,
I
it was a dig
think
at
he was
Watts.
trying to explain why, when they need big bodies, they've let their experienced prop go because he's bad for culture, bad for training. He's almost tried to justify it, in my opinion.
He was trying to, he tried to justify it.
Yeah, so it's maybe, but Watts has hit out and fought back and said, look, I've never missed a training session. Seems like he said, I'm getting on a bit, so there's some stuff I can't do. I've got to be managed a little bit better to keep my longevity in the game so I can still play to a level I want to play at. So
This is one where
probably best they part ways.
both sides will probably look back at this in a few years and say, oh, I got that one wrong.
Yeah.
Got it wrong there. That shouldn't have been how I ended at Cass, or that's not how Liam Watts should have ended at Cass.
Yeah, bit of that they've gone separate ways.
Can we
final signing news, Salford have signed George Hill from Cass.
Yeah.
So they've had two in and one out.
Yeah, short term sort of
A
deal.
loan, isn't it?
I'm not sure if it's a loan, actually. It's a short term, maybe it's a loan.
I'd be surprised if they're letting George Hill go permanently.
He's a forward. He's a good forward, actually. They'll not let him go permanently. I'd be surprised if they swapped him for Singleton.
I did see something linked to this. Can Tiaki Chan play against us?
Good question.
Because I'm pretty sure I saw Harvey Wilson picked up an injury for Salford. You might be wrong in that.
I think he failed a head test.
Failed a head test. And if Chan can't play, they're missing two forwards. And they've only been naming 17, 18, so they're definitely going to need a body, which solves the...
So they could bring George Hill in. Yeah, they could bring George Hill in, yeah.
It's a win-win for both teams.
And then 3 more to get through. McManus, St Helens chairman.
Yeah.
He's been calling out the RFL.
Yeah, he wrote an open letter before the game against Warrington, slamming the RFL and calling for the triumph of Nigel Wood, which we spoke about last week. This feels so... This story feels like it's going to have an unhappy ending for everyone. I'm trying to remain positive about it, but this story feels like it's not going to have a happy ending.
No, the comments from Matt Pete were crucial the other day.
It sounded like he's worried about the future of the game. And if he's worried about the future of the game, so am I.
Yeah.
Somebody's so clever. And he thought about his answer. When Brian Kearney asked him, he thought about his answer before he said it. And he's clearly worried. And therefore I am. About where do we go?
It is. It's strange, isn't it? I suppose only time will tell with something like this. It's going to take a bit of time to see how the pieces all fit together. And
there's been a lot of people commenting, but no one's really give a definitive thing. There was the Carney statement before, where he said
Brian
he was worried.
Kearney said this is going to shake the whole sport to its core and change it more than it did in 1995, where it changed from winter to summer.
But even with that, the NRL have already come out and said they won't deal with Nigel Wood. That was a statement from Peter Volandis. So that's thrown a hiccup there. Beaumont and Thingy made the statement the other week, Gary Etherington. And actually, I don't think anything definitive's been said. What's Nigel Wood actually coming in to do? It's not...
But if McManus throws his weight behind it, that's another big name in the sport backing him. You've got Wigan and Warrington not backing it. Catalan's not backing it. There's one other club, maybe Salford didn't back it, I can't remember. But someone else didn't back it. So we're looking like there's going to be a split now.
There has to be something said about the 3 clubs not backing it. Catalans, Wigan, Warrington. 2 clubs who take it around the world. One who's wanting expansion into Europe. And the rest not.
There'll be a civil war coming up. There'll be a split like they had in Australia, where they ended up with 2 leagues and then reformed into one.
I can see it coming.
That's not the way forward. Time will tell. This thing is very weird. It's going to have a happy ending.
last couple of pieces of news, both injury news. Niall Evans just signed for the Huddersfield Giants.
Yes.
And has broke his foot.
In his first game.
6 weeks out, you reckon? 7 weeks out?
It's going to be something like that, isn't it? Recovering from a
I
broken
think it's probably
foot.
more like 10 or 11, 12. He's looking at months rather than weeks for a broken foot.
They brought him in and he was replacing Thingy at full back, wasn't it? Gaga, who's picked up an injury. I'm pretty certain.
That's
he
just
wasn't
bad
involved
to
in the
worse
team.
for them, isn't it? I mean, we'll talk about Huddersfield.
It's unlucky, that, isn't it?
It's unlucky, yeah.
Part and parcel of the game, but it is unlucky. And
I mean, the one thing you could say, sorry, Lewis, the one thing you could say, if you were taking a silver lining from this cloud, it is he was moving to Huddersfield because I think he's got quite a young child who's maybe ill or something like that. There was a reason why he was moving to Huddersfield, and it was 10 weeks where he can't train and he can't play. Might help out.
yeah.
Might be able to help out, young family. If I'm looking for a silver lining, if there is this problem they've got, which they need to be closer to home to solve, then maybe that's... Because he is from around there, isn't he?
He's a...
West Yorkshire, is he Cast Lad or something like that? He's from around there anyway.
Came through at Castlington.
So maybe that might be a bit of a silver lining for him personally. And now, we don't want anybody to... If his family's if he's got a young family and they're doing it tough, we want him to be there if he can.
Yeah, no, 100%. And last one, Carl Felt, St Helens signing from the NRL. He's out for 3 months. We did get a look at our new signing the weekend.
Potentially
new signing. It's not official.
Sambu.
They've announced he's leaving. Well, we haven't announced that we're signing.
Either of them.
Thought it was confirmed, him and Johnny Vaughan.
No.
Radio X DJ, Photos 7 buying. Something like them too.
Well, it felt like it was a done deal, but I don't think it was ever
Has it never been announced by the club? It's been rumoured in papers or whatever, but it's not been officially announced by the club.
So it was announced by media outlets that they'd signed for Wigan, but nothing ever released by Wigan. There's now reports that Sambu was actually signed back at St Helens. So this is all rumour talk. He gets his game on the wing, does very well, scores a good try.
Yep.
But there are other reports that are being announced as transfers done, but no one's actually announced them as signings, and it's a bit weird.
There's a reason we haven't spoken about one of them yet.
Yeah.
One of Wigan's young forwards.
It's a bit weird, really, that people are reporting it as done when no club has said.
I'll believe it when the club announces it.
Yeah.
Fine. Well, allegedly. I will put that
Allegedly.
Allegedly they've got new sign, but don't hold me to that.
No.
But anyway, it looked like a good player either way.
Yeah,
Carl
he's
felt
a
so.
player.
Young lad gets the opportunity, looked quite good.
One thing that Welland has been criticised about before is not giving the young lads a chance when there's been injuries or only resorting to them as a final option. He's not recalled T. Ritson in this case.
No.
He's given the young lad a go.
You could have recalled Hurrell and pushed Robertson onto wing.
Fair play to Welland, maybe he's learned from his mistakes.
And that wraps up the news.
Yeah.
Take a quick break. We'll come around the grounds. So we're going to have a look now around the grounds at the rest of Super League. 5 games this week, obviously starting off on Thursday, was Salford Huddersfield. Salford still had a lot to deal with, obviously the loss of Mark Sneed, what was going to happen there, and they made a change with Braley coming in at half-back. Alongside Nicarima, they brought the young lad Connell in at full-back, and they get a win against Huddersfield, 23 points to 10. Huddersfield obviously losing Evalds in mid-game is a big injury for them. Yeah. They'll be disappointed though.
Oh, absolutely, yes. Yes, they will.
If you're Luke Robinson, you think, get a win here, and that might just kickstart a little bit of a run.
He's just looked... he's disappointing. Whenever we see him, he just looks like he's just hanging on.
Out of ideas.
Yeah.
What team do you see Huddersfield beating? Because they've not beat a Salford team.
No.
That's in a bit of disarray, given obviously the issues they've got going off the field. I think Hull FC are better than this year. I think Wakey are better than this year. Maybe Cast.
I think Cass are a better team.
Could be a close one.
Cass have got some better players though. When you look through Cass's spine, they're a better team than Huddersfield.
I just don't see what game they're going to win.
No.
Everybody just seems better than them.
Yeah,
They just don't seem to be
It's a
super
tough one,
league
isn't
level.
it? It's a tough
I don't want to take credit away from Salford here, but I was looking at some of the comments from Huddersfield fans saying, "What's the plan?" Ash Goulding at 9 still. They're like, and not to pick on him, but where's the progression? Where's the moving on of players? They had Tyrone Milne playing as an impact second rower against us, and then he started at centre the week after. The big changes to make every week then. Clune's a big loss for them, obviously, but...
Yes, and now Evalds.
But
And Guy. I suppose you've got 3 imports there who were out injured.
I genuinely do think, though, you're right, though, Lewis. Who do they beat?
I think we've got to give credit to Salford coming through this. Paul Rowley will be delighted now. He got back-to-back wins, actually, in the Cup and the League. Jade Nicarima, like we said before, played really well. I thought Braley in the halves looked all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, looks all right.
But they're going to have an issue that they've not got a long kicker now. Neither of
They've
them.
not really got... Well, they've obviously not got any depth because they're having to make changes every week into just a 17.
That needs to be sorted soon.
I don't know what's going to happen with that. We've actually... I feel like this is the first week where there's been no updates, and we've got to play them next, so... It's such a weird situation. Obviously, that 82 points Saints got at the start of the year just completely skews the league table when you look at it now. And I just don't know what happens from now on.
Oh, there was news about it. Nigel Wood went to Salford.
He did, yeah.
Don't know what came out of that. Next up, Hull travelled to Wakefield. 2 informed teams, really, and teams punching better than what we would have expected. Wakefield missing a few, obviously, they're missing Jowett, missing... one of the big forwards, I can't remember his name. But they're the same thing. I don't think the squad's deep enough yet. And if you look at Hull FC, they have started to get a little bit of depth. Some options, like both the wingers.
Yeah, Caesar was fantastic again.
SAS is brilliant.
Doing a good job, Kurt, right, isn't he?
I think Zakariak has been a good sign.
Even if he was dressed like a mortician.
Who's dressed like a Martin? Kurt.
He dresses like a mortician to a game. Black suit, black tie. Like Prince of Darkness vibes.
Undertaker.
The Undertaker vibes.
But No, he's doing a good job with them though, and it's nice for to see him succeed in their Hull. You know, got a big fan base there, club with a good history, some Challenge Cup wins and stuff.
Yeah, if you want to take them to Vegas, they've got to be good.
Yeah, so 100%. It's nice to see Hull doing well. Nice to see a competitive Waking back in Super League, to be fair.
Yeah, there'll be no mugs, they'll not roll over for anybody working.
No, but I think last time they was in, they didn't really offer much to the league, did they?
No.
Whereas I think now, actually, they've established themselves as a good, like you say, good competitive team. They're not going to be an easy 2 points anymore. So good to see.
Hull doing really well. Sorry,
Yeah.
they're amazing because I did not expect this from them.
Don't think anybody did, to be fair.
I did say they would improve.
They were always going to improve. You had to
Probably
improve
anyone.
after that.
No, I know, but I said they were going to improve quite a bit, and I did get something back for that. Just no, I don't want to say I told you so, but I told you so.
They've got a long way to go. They've
Yeah.
got an awful long way to go because they're in the top 5 at the moment. Top 3, sorry. But they've got some teams to play. They lost to us convincingly in the league.
Well, I said they'll be closer to top 6 than bottom. I said that at the end of last year when they made those signings, and I stand by that.
Just got to see how they go.
Yeah,
Keep an eye on them because I think there's a lot going to happen with them. Next up, also on Friday, St Helens Warrington.
good game. It was, and Matty Ashton with a match-winning try again. Yeah, he's not. Once he gets that ball, he's not getting stopped.
Do you think he's cemented his spot as starting winger
For England,
for England?
yeah, for me, I think
I think he's the best English winger in the
I'd
competition.
start him. I think right now, if I was picking a team now, I think I'd pick Matty Ashton on the
You
wing.
know what I'll say about him? I was always worried that he couldn't make the meters or he didn't make the meters. He's definitely improved that aspect of
I
his
think
game.
I think we said that last year, didn't we? He's improved that.
I think he's gone to another level. Sneed, man of the match.
Well, they had a good connection with Williams, didn't he, for the opening... Well, I don't know if it was the opening try. I think it was...
They've got a lot of
his first
experience
try.
together, haven't they?
Yeah, with the little kicking behind for him.
Yeah,
Nice
it
to
was a
see
nice
the
kick.
7 and 6 combined, showing that little bit of chemistry early on. Why your fans will be excited about that.
Well, he's just what they need, I think.
I think so. I think now they've got an organiser, they've got a long kicker. And Williams said it when he did his post-match interview. He said, well, he does what he does and it frees me up for play however I want to play. So
That's such a good answer. And actually, I thought there was an interesting answer. I don't know if it's because Paul Sculthorpe asked him the question, but he said, is halfback the most important position for England against Australia? And he said 13. That might be because, although Sculthorpe said standoff, it might be because Sculthorpe was standing right next to him. But interesting that Williams is saying 13 is the trickiest position or the most important position. And he said, because you've got a ball player and make 40 tackles. Which I think is fair enough. But I
think it's the same with 9.
I like listening to George when he speaks about the game. And that really interested me what he said there, where he said 13 is the most important player.
I was going to say, to England, I do think it's 9 and 13 because you've got to do the 40 tackles, 50 tackles.
At least.
And then your distribution's got to be perfect. And even at 30, you've got to make 20 odd carries. Hard carries. Warrington win, another 2 points. They needed a good win
There was a bounce back, wasn't it? Because they, I know they won
against
against
Widnes.
Widnes, but they made it difficult and then they lost the 2 previous. So, yeah, good win for Warrington.
Before us, on Saturday, Catalans travelled to Castleford.
Yeah, this was an absolute swamp.
Again, if you're Maguire, I think you'll be a bit disappointed with this. You're thinking Catalans rocking up. The weather as it was.
On our pitch, in our conditions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're looking at like Luke Keary, who's been in the NRL for the last 15 years. He'll not played on a pitch like this. And you think you could maybe catch him.
Sam ran the show.
There's a reason they brought him back in.
There is a reason they brought him back.
26 points to nil. Cass scored with about 10 minutes left to make it 26-4. They're still going to be up and down, aren't they, Cass? It's going to take them 4 or 5 years. They've got to take a long approach.
Cass, yeah. Well, I think, yeah, they've got to start getting things right on and off the field. They've got to start getting the simple things right, the little things right. They've got to start paying attention to detail. Do you know what I'm getting at here? They need to start spelling their own head coach's name correctly. How can you spell his name wrong 3 times? He's head coach.
What I love is on the third one is that they noticed that they'd spelt it wrong and then had the nerve to delete it and repost it 25 minutes later after everyone was already talking about it. Like, it's not even that hard to spell.
No. Especially when his nickname is Danny Maggs.
You could just put Mags, couldn't you?
You could just put Mags. You could just put Danny.
It's bad. But Catalan's big win for them. Sorry, we should say. Obviously, that's 3 in a row now after a poor start by their standards. They'll be hoping to bounce on. We've got a decent run in the Challenge Cup, a decent draw with Salford having to travel to France. So they could be hoping to put a few wins back to back.
And they've got St Helens coming to France this week. So that'll be see if Saints bounce back or if Catalan keep this good run going.
Definitely. Finally, Sunday. Hull KR win 38 points to 0.
Yeah, Hull KR get free breakfast in the cafe this morning because they kept the opponent to 0.
Yeah.
Tom didn't like that yesterday when we were watching it.
I thought that was a bit weird.
Thinks they should just get free breakfast anyway if it's a sponsor.
If you win.
If you win, you should get free breakfast, you reckon?
Not for 0. But
I mean, I'm sure players get fed.
I'm not saying they don't, but
They get a nice breakfast in a cafe because they beat Leeds 0.
it was just a bit weird the way that he announced it.
Yeah, he didn't even say the name of the place, did he? So
No, he
we
didn't.
give him a shout out.
Yeah, a bit weird.
Mikey Lewis.
Bit disappointing this one, do you think? Leeds to go no points, or to just show how hard it is to go to Craven Park?
I think it's an element of Craven Park. Lee are doing it tough with injuries at the moment. Obviously, they're missing Mulhern massively.
OKR got it right, which goes a long way.
Yeah.
Once again, a roll hard to stop, and they had a bit of the bounce of the ball as well.
They got the win in the first half was big as well. It was so hard for Lee kicking from deep,
Yeah.
and Lee OKR dominated all the positions. Obviously,
They played it better. They played the conditions better.
Yeah. Lee is still missing a few. Obviously, missing Charnley is massive. He makes a lot of meters. And if you're following Tessie New up with Charnley, I think you'd start rolling
maybe.
teams quite well.
I think New did all right with his meter making. It certainly felt like it was a bit of a handful.
I just don't think there was that second punch after it.
No,
we
you're
got
right.
on the front foot, quick play the ball. Who's going to make us another 10? And McIntosh, the same. Obviously, he's just come back from injury and dislocated his shoulder.
Yeah, popped his shoulder, yeah.
12 weeks after a bad knee injury. That's a big loss for
It's an
them.
unfortunate one.
But that won't define Lee's season. Going to Hull KR and losing. Really, you sort of put that back. The only thing is they've got a shorter turnaround than everyone else.
Are they on the Thursday this week?
Friday.
On the Friday?
Yeah, so
Against Wakefield.
Wakefield got 2 extra days rest. But
Yeah.
that'll be a tough test. And
I'm looking forward to that game.
Yeah.
Wakefield against Lee.
Yeah,
That'll be a good
yeah.
test.
I'm just looking at a lot of the fixtures next week. Obviously, we're not really doing predictions, but Cass Hull should be an interesting game at Cass on Thursday. Lee Wakefield.
But again, Hull win that. As you'd say, they're probably favourites. All of a sudden, you're looking at Hull as a top 2 contender. They keep this good run going.
Yeah. Long way to go yet. Nothing's won in.
No, not at all. I mean, last year
March.
it was interesting because Saints won the league on Good Friday and then Hull KR won it.
In June.
Then Warrington won it in August.
Did Hull KR win it again?
I can't remember. They ended up none of them winning a trophy for it, which was weird.
But Lee Wakefield will be a good game. Warrington Leeds will be a good game. 2 teams on a buzz after last week, hoping to back it up.
Yeah, they've both had good wins. Close wins, but good wins.
Catalans, St Helens.
That should be a good. That's always a good game. Whenever them 2 teams play, it's always a good game.
Huddersfield Hull KR. Huddersfield have to prove something. They have to prove a little bit
They
of.
have to come out and show some fight.
They need a performance. And then Wigan Salford on Sunday, and Wigan have got a lot to prove, really.
We've got to win.
Salford will be looking to follow it up and try and pinch a win.
Salford have won the last 2. Wigan have lost the last 2.
So really interesting round of the Super League, really. And
Yep.
You flick through all the fixtures in the future, there's not many that you go in, oh, that'll be a poor game. Everything seems competitive, really.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be a good league again, I think.
Massively. Right. I think that wraps up our 2-year anniversary episode.
We should do something for the 100th episode. I'll think of something.
Like podcast related or just have a party.
Well, yes.
Both.
Just do both, yeah.
I'm up for it.
100th episode.
Send us your ideas.
Oh, yeah. If you're still listening, got an idea for 100th episode.
Host podcast live from the party we're having.
I feel like that's a bad
That
idea.
would be brilliant.
Banging.
That's a bad idea.
Right, thank you for listening, guys. Matty, Lewis, thank you for joining us.
I'll see you next
No
week.
problem at all.
See you next week.